Hello everybody, special big hello to all my subscribers, all 95 of you. It's been a long time since I last posted a video. Obviously my channel is predominantly about travel, and during the whole coronavirus thing we haven't really been traveling, so I hope you understand why I haven't been producing videos. However, today gives me a chance to talk about something I think is going to be quite interesting. I'm going to talk about 5 things that I love about Kazakhstan. So for those of you that don't know, which is probably everyone, I've been in Kazakhstan since 2011. I did have 1 year away when I lived in Ireland. I think that was something like 2016. Can't even remember, to be honest. But I came back to Kazakhstan a year later. So I've been here quite a long time. So I'm in, fairly good position to be able to talk about, the things that are good in Kazakhstan. So this video is obviously going to be in English. My next video is going to be the same, but I'm going to do it in Russian, so that non-English speakers, so Russian speakers living in Kazakhstan or Russia or wherever, can also hear my feelings on Kazakhstan. And then after that, I'm going to release a video, firstly in English, about the 5 things I hate about Kazakhstan, which should be interesting. And again, I'll do that in Russian. Well, that's the plan anyway. So, without any further ado, let's begin. So number 1. By the way, this is in no particular order. But number 1 is the cost of living. So, I would say that that Kazakhstan is not only considerably cheaper than Western countries, but it's probably also one of the cheapest countries in the world at the moment. Now I'll explain more about that in the 5 things I hate video. But let's just focus on the positives. The fact is, living in Kazakhstan is very cheap. I'm going to give you some examples of that now. So, for example, where I am now, this apartment, it's a 1-bedroom apartment. It's also got sort of the lounge area and kitchen together, and there's a separate bathroom as well. I pay for that 60,000 tenge, which at today's exchange rate is $145. So you can see that's very, very cheap. To be honest, even by Kazakh standards, that is cheap. I live in a city called Shymkent. It's the 3rd city in Kazakhstan, 3rd largest city. And Shymkent is traditionally probably the cheapest city in Kazakhstan in terms of general cost of living, I believe. So yeah, that's the apartment. Now, there's obviously loads of things I could tell you about in terms of the cost, but I've just picked out a few. So a cost of a bottle of beer, so half a litre of beer. The price varies depending on what beer it is, but you can usually pick it up for about 50 cents. It's 50 US cents. Another good example would be petrol. I've got a car here. When I fill up my tank, when I'm completely on empty, when I fill up right to the top, it never costs me more than $19. And I've got a 1.5 litre engine car. So yeah, maximum $19. Now that price has been going up over the last few years. But at the moment, yeah, $19 tops. So services I wanted to talk about. Services are particularly cheap. So manual labour, basically. So today, I had a problem with my car. I stupidly hit, I think it was the edge of a curb or something, and my tyre, I've got a flat tyre basically. I think my tyre burst. But put it like this, my tyre was irreparable. I had to just get rid of it. So I took it to a garage. I got my tyre changed. It's a bit of a long story. I had to actually come home, get my spare tyre, which I had at home, get a taxi back to the garage. So he replaced the burst tyre with my tyre that I'd given him. for 500 tenge. 500 tenge is $1.20. So anything that involves manual labour, so quite often it's related to cars, mechanics, but also like if you get a plumber, electrician, things like that, it's very, 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 very cheap here. I think one of the few things that I can think of where the price is more expensive, possibly even more expensive than in the West, would be something like electronics. The latest mobile phone, computers. I don't think you'd save much in Kazakhstan. As I say, you may even be paying more. But generally, cost of living is extremely cheap here. Now, obviously, it does depend on how much money you earn. If you're earning the average salary in Shymkent, in the city where I live in, then it's not going to be cheap. So yeah, you do have to obviously bear that in mind. Anyway, number two. I'm going to come back to this one, I think, till the end. It's a bit more controversial. So number two, I'm going to go for 24-hour shops and restaurants. This, if anything, is actually more of a criticism of where I'm from, the UK. So here in Kazakhstan, in Shymkent where I live, it's very common to find 24-hour convenience stores, supermarkets. We have one just literally downstairs from where I live. It's open 24 hours. Not at the moment though, because there's some restrictions because of the coronavirus thing. But generally, it's open 24 hours. And it's very, very common to find 24-hour shops. If not 24 hours, then they'll stay open till at least midnight, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Same can be said for restaurants. Restaurants, you can easily find 24-hour restaurants and cafes. And of course, those that stay open just very late, till gone midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock. Because where I'm from in the UK, I think the UK is notorious for things closing early. It's often, like people from like Spain and those sort of Mediterranean countries often criticise the UK, that everything just closes down like by 6 o'clock. Like if you take shopping centres in Kazakhstan, the shops stay open till 10 o'clock at night without fail, and the food court stays open till midnight. And that's something that's really important for me. I'm more of a kind of a late person. I go to bed very late. I like the fact that I can just pop down to my local shop at any time that I want. Whereas of course when I was in the UK, everything was closed so early. So for me, that's a major, major benefit here. It's something that I really, really like. Number three, I'm going to talk about tax. So tax in terms of if you have a business here, which I do, it's actually my wife's business because she's a citizen of Kazakhstan. We have something called IP, which stands for Individualное предпринимательство, which means basically it's an entrepreneur type of business that we have. And the tax is only 3% per month. So 3% on our earnings. So I think that's really, really good. Now it does depend. There are different tax systems you can have. As I said, we have entrepreneur one. There are other types like TOO. Not sure what that stands for. I think it's LTD in English, and that tax system is different. I think just kind of staying on that topic, but kind of just sort of broadening it out a little bit. I think the Kazakh government is good at trying to promote people to have their own businesses. They want people to open up businesses. They want people to, try and do well for themselves. They promote it. They keep the tax rate very low. We've never been checked before. We've been working in our business for like 6 years now almost. We've never had like the tax man come round checking documents and stuff. So I think Kazakhstan is very good for business. If you want to open your own small business, you will get support here. Well, local people would anyway. I'm not sure about what the situation is regarding foreigners. I don't think you can just turn up here and just open your own business. But yeah, that's definitely something that I really love here about Kazakhstan. Number 4, I'm going to talk about safety. I think Kazakhstan is very safe, especially compared to where I'm from in the UK. I'm from London. There's a lot of crime in London. It's not such a safe place, not as safe as a lot of foreign people think. When I tell people here in Kazakhstan that London's dangerous, they look at me like mad because they think that Shymkent's dangerous. And I'm like, no, you're mistaken. I think people just kind of have this impression of London that it's this, people drink tea at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and everyone, is, hello sir, how can I help you today? Of course, the reality, it's not like that. So here in Shymkent, yeah, I feel totally safe. Now, don't get me wrong, there is crime here. People do get murdered from time to time. Burglaries happen and street crime, I guess. We had our notebook, it's a Russian word, we had our laptop stolen from our office once. But look, generally, it's a very safe place, very family friendly. Feel safe to walk around at night. Certainly a lot safer here than what it is in the UK, and particularly London and other large urban areas. And finally, the one I was going to talk about, secondly, I've left it to the end, so I'm going to talk for a while about this one. And it's I mentioned it was a little bit controversial, but at the end of the day, these are my views, this is what I think. So it's traditional values that I've noted down here. So that involves a number of different things, which I'll talk about individually now. The first one is marriage. So, nowadays in the West, people are kind of putting off marriage. I think people are more independent in the West, should we say. That's fine, but here marriage is still very important. It's very rare. You'll find extremely rare. I've never heard of it before, where a woman has had a baby with someone out of wedlock. So generally, people here get married very young and try to build a family. From quite a young age, have children, and I like that. I think that's a good traditional value to hold, whereas nowadays in the West it's all just individualism. People are having less children. I just find it's just less traditional in the UK and other Western countries, I suppose. A bit hard to explain, maybe. I'm not trying to offend anyone. You can do what you want, but I just particularly like that traditional value of marriage. Of course, it doesn't mean that people's marriages in Kazakhstan don't, always go so well. Divorce rate is actually quite high, I think. I know quite a few people that have got divorced. So yeah, it's not all roses, but just the value of it I like. Second thing I want to talk about is women dress like women. I wrote down here in my notes. So in the West, I think women have let themselves go. But who am I to say how women should dress? I'm not. But look, I just think here, women look after themselves well. They wear feminine clothes. They act in a feminine way. They're the sort of women that I'm attracted to. Women that actually act like women rather than all these, again, I go back to the kind of individualism, I suppose, in the West, and feminists, and I don't know, here women expect to be treated like women, so that means paying for them, and just treating them well, I guess. And I don't know, that's just how it should be in my opinion. Again, I'm a traditionalist, and that's how I like it. Next thing, which is probably the most controversial, is LGBT. So lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual. I think they've added a Q onto it. I don't even know what that means. So over here, that whole sort of gay scene isn't really accepted here in society. It all goes back to obviously being to Kazakhstan holding traditional values. Of course, you get gay people here. I've known a number of gay people here. I have nothing against people who are gay, but what I don't like is how in the West it's pushed in your face with like gay parades, and it's always in the news, and it's just too much. They're just pushing it onto you. The same with like how they're trying to teach it in schools, forcing kids to learn about it. So that for me, that's a step too far. I like how Kazakhstan has their law. You know, there's no laws against being homosexual or doing homosexual acts. That's fine. Do what you want in the confines of your own home. It's not like in certain maybe Islamic countries where you get stoned or something. It's not a crime here. You can, do what you want, but just don't scream and shout about it. And here, kids are kids. They can go out and play outside. They don't go to school and learn about same-sex marriage and all that stuff, and gender neutral. I don't even know what it's called. As I said, I left the UK in 2011. I think a lot of things have changed there since then. I don't go back very often. But yeah, I just like traditional values of Kazakhstan towards life and society in general, as it meets my values as well. And yeah, that's it. That's what I wanted to talk about in terms of 5 things that I love in Kazakhstan. So I plan to do this in Russian for my next video. Might be a little bit shorter because my Russian's obviously not as good as my English, as English is my first language. Russian I learnt, but I'll give it a go anyway. So yeah, leave your comments down below if you so wish, and subscribe if you haven't. And yeah, let's see if I can get up to 100 subscribers soon. So guys, thanks for watching. Peace out.